Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Vargas here again. As spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people, my concern is that everything that I am is used to bring forward understanding of the message of life that would liberate me and at the same time gives me the confidence that it's worthy of me to share it with you in hopes that it might do the same for you. Not what I'm contradicting traditional ways. It's just that as I have been introduced, it is done in such a way that I can understand it in my experiences of life today, whereby it encourages me to bring it to you, to talk to you about things that you understand. Well, I might speak to you of biblical truths at a time, but I don't expect you to understand what's happening back in biblical days in to the degree that you would understand that same thing happening here today. You'd really understand that. And so I want to speak to you on the subject matter, my sheep know my voice. Somewhere you might have heard that my sheep know my voice and another they will not listen to. Now the reference of that is that people who understand the Spirit of God, the love of God, listen to God, know God, and all this other stuff that's claiming to be God is rejected by those that know the voice of God. You know, and to that, to bring some understanding, you've heard the expression that thou shalt not kill. Now, if that's the voice of God, if that's the spirit of love, if that's righteousness, then to come up with anything to go kill, it must not be the voice of God. Now, those who know the voice of God will say that's not the voice of God. But those who don't know the voice of God, will do something and say it was the voice of God. But in action itself, it isn't. Thou shalt not mean thou shalt not. Well, what about thou to love one another? To love one another. Now, that's the voice of God. That's the voice of positivity. Now, there's another. If it's talking about hate, anybody talking about hate, that cannot be God. But let me see if I can quantify this right fast so you can understand. Let me take you to a place that you might, be able to deal with, because I can deal with it. It's about little kids thing. I want you to think for a moment that God created man, Adam and Eve. Let's just live with Adam and Eve. So when I say God, I'm talking about Adam and Eve in the garden. Nobody in the garden but Adam and Eve. In the spirit. And this spirit, let me tell you something about the spirit. I want you to understand this as spirit, because for this understanding from where I'm coming from, I don't want you to think about a devil with fork and horns, that cartoon stuff. Not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't want you to think about it today. I want you to think about something else. I want you to think about the spirit of evil. The spirit of evil. Then when it comes down to God, I don't want you thinking about God as in the sense that we do think about God, but I want you to think about the spirit of God. The spirit of love. The spirit of hate. These are the opposites. And so mankind being created, humankind, and when I say mankind, I don't really want to restrict it to mankind. I want to say that all living things, all created living things, what I mean by living, got life. They operate on those same premise. Spirit of what's good, spirit of what's not. Spirit of what's love, spirit of what's not. It's just that way. We call it a balance. And it's before all living things to make a choice, rather than say, I'm going to make you good, I'm going to make you evil, I'm going to make you and put before you give evil and good. And let you experience the two, or let you make a choice of one or the other. And so what we have, and that's all living things. And so in the beginning, the maker, for some strange reason, everybody was doing good. So when I say everybody, I'm talking about Adam and Eve. Life was wonderful. I'm assuming the ants and everybody had the same kind of wonderful life. The animals, everybody had this, everything, all living things had a wonderful life. And I can imagine Adam and Eve one day deciding that What about this negative thing, this other voice? You will surely die. You'll surely die. And all I can see is simply being what we do. It's the same thing when your mama tell the girl, don't go out and get that boy no loving, because you're going to get messed up. The girl intend not to do it. Boy, they'll tell him, ooh, baby, how wonderful you are. And the next thing, the girl just break down, and it happens. So that's that spirit that's out there telling, hey, man, try this, try that. And you never tried it before. You never had to. And then you tried. And what happened when you tried? You might like it. You know, they say love is so good when you're stealing it, that candy bar. So you get caught out there. But then you can run, but you can't hide, because once you stand, I like to associate this with getting pregnant, because I can imagine Adam and Eve had never had a baby before, and all of a sudden something start happening. Well, you got to do something for that to happen, and then all of a sudden you can't hide that. I've done what you said don't do, and I busted. Now, but you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay. How do you pay? You pay by having that baby. Now everybody, every mama, there were all these folks on earth came through a mama. And every one of them mamas, I believe, would tell you, Lord God, ooh-wee. And they said ooh-wee in such a way that we know that men, well, at least we think men wouldn't do it. Well, if they were punished like that, they would. But it wasn't necessarily a punishment, because you brought life, additional life into the world. And so I can't say that was a model for all of the living things, but living things do go through a process that's similar to creation. Now, did they violate the rules? I don't know. I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking about us. I'm just trying to give you something that we can understand. And so when we violate these rules, I got this evil spirit and this hateful spirit. We got this loving spirit, and we got this unloving spirit. Well, see, what does that mean to all of us? Well, if you're going to be speaking about God and love, you want to speak about peace. And to speak about peace and be honest with it, you got to be talking about justice. That's God. And an injustice is not God. So what usually happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you get in situations like this? When both spirits are at work and things happen, what really happens? I mean, can you see what's going to happen? Well, in the story that I was talking about with Adam a few minutes ago, they brought these kids into the world. But what happened? One of them brought death upon the other. So if you never experienced death before, and I'm not saying you hadn't, I'm just talking about an analogy right here that we could basically kind of picture. But now you do. And so this is symbolic, basically, to all that we go through. All human beings go through this. But let's back this up for a minute. Just imagine that there was this time when everything was fine. Everything. Before Adam and Eve decided to give them life to the other spirit. Wasn't life absolutely magnificent? Wasn't life absolutely wonderful? I tell you what. Think about it like this.